Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are now engaged, and as the Supercars Championship heads towards Bathurst, that parity question has reared its head and is gaining severe momentum in the media. So, hello, Damo.
Hey, Steve. Hello, everyone. I guess let's just kick this off. It's parody time.
Yes. So to the Tay-Tay fans that just jumped in there and now just jumped away, realizing that this has nothing to do with them.
Yes, all the people that switched off because of it. Okay, thank you to all those. May you stay long and enjoy what we've got for you.
I thought you were going to do a Star Wars thing there, mate.
I was tempted to. I was tempted. And I guess thanks to everyone who's subscribed recently. We're looking at cracking over 330 now, which is amazing. So thank you.
It is.
And I guess that just brings us to our first court of order that we must do, where I think we need to say congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes. KLZ
first person
180 with a very sick, if it is your car, very sick mint 180 in the thumbnail picture. First person to do the magic word. Well done.
Well done, mate. Well done.
We love it. It was great to see people making comments, but still the first one to do it. So
can we just say that last pod, guys, the reaction we've had from that was awesome. To have that sort of reaction to one of them was really nice. So thanks for everyone that watched and put down a comment. Please keep it up. We want to interact with you guys more and more and get your feelings around different subjects as well. Whether you agree with us or not, that's fine. Let's just have a good discussion about it, Damo, I reckon.
Yes, Steve. Well, I guess let's kick it off, mate, because our favourite word, everybody's favourite word, the P word of parody, like it is starting to gather a little bit of, I'm ignoring that, gather momentum out there. And I feel like it's this last minute effort to avoid having another boring or dull Bathurst.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think you're fairly on the money there, mate. I think what's happened is we've had James Warburton come in and had a bit of a...
Can I just say that
there's
been nothing on the Supercars website. So everything's happening in the pods, in the news articles and everything else. There's been nothing. The last kind of, if you want to call it parody, was the wind tunnel news back on the 4th of August. And yet there's been so much sort of happening in the background that's been reported on by other people. So it was feeling like that it might have fallen, into their old habits and the closed door policies. But then, as you mentioned, our new king, the guy that's going to fix it all, James Warburton, popped up. Right?
I don't know if he's a king, mate, but he's definitely better than was it Shane? I can't remember his second name. Well, obviously good at what he does, but Howard, so good at what he does, but not good fronting the media. And clearly, there's a few things that need to be cleaned up, and James seems to be going in on it. So I've got him off in here. How's that for wasting internet? Yep.
Yes.
So anyway, so James, and I'll get you to bring it up, Damo.
Yeah.
So you guys can all see it. So a series of studies into specific elements of engine parity have taken place throughout the year, resulting in minor tweaks, including an account for how the engines react to temperature. This month's track tests are believed to be the result of Supercars CEO James Warburton's determination to ensure that the issue does not blight the Bathurst 1000 for a third straight year. A newly installed CEO has pushed the parties involved to be clear around the perceived problems and possible solutions amid an increasingly urgent pre-Bathurst timeframe, Damien. Ford's homologation team, Big Johnson Racing, has been permitted to put forward a range of options to test, with the category open to implementing changes if the data supports doing so. allowing alterations to the bodywork from the signed off following the $1 million wind tunnel program undertaken during the 23-24 off-season would undoubtedly be controversial, which I think we'll touch on soon. The correlation between the controlled tunnel and the dyno testing, however, has been repeatedly questioned by Ford and its teams amid struggles at certain circuits and in certain conditions. Supercars is set to work with its 3 homologation teams on how to improve its wind tunnel practices ahead of a return to the wind shear facility in December, as reported by Speed Cafe.
Speed Cafe.
Speed Cafe. Now,
very interesting, mate.
It is interesting. Now, obviously, there's a big push by Warbo. His main concern seems to be that he doesn't want another Bathurst like we've seen in the past 2 years, where it's just utterly dominated by the Camaros, and no Ford team has any chance of winning the great race for many reasons, but the fundamental one being a complete and utter lack of pace. What do you think, mate? There's been some ramblings in the pit lane. We've seen DJR and Tickford do a post-test at Queensland Raceway that was hush hush. Can't tell you what we're doing here, but it's supposedly aero changes. And then we have young Penwright running Kai Allen at the Bend, no less.
For their rookie days, yep.
For their rookie days, with some potential engine changes.
Yeah, like for being so quiet and, it's been bubbling along. There's been some stuff happening, of course, as we've mentioned in the past during our little updates. But then out of nowhere, like almost like a full program is running in the background and arrows pop back up and obviously the engine stuff's pop back up. I mean, considering kind of like how we've got to this point where, we did all that wind tunnel testing. So from an aero point of view, the engine stuff has been talked about for, well, a good solid 12 months, but more than that, really. It was really after Bathurst last year or in the lead up to Bathurst last year that it really started getting some traction. And then you just think about, we thought they'd done such a great job initially to try and keep everyone in the loop, to do the right testing, take the cars across, have the engine dynos showing that it's replicating the same thing. And yet it just seems like this has been such a long, drawn-out process to get to the point here where now we're scrambling for the Bathurst 1000 to make sure it's a reasonable spectacle. And the words from Warbo, wow, sort of feels like he was quite serious in the way that he was addressing it and what he was talking about, as opposed to having no news, nothing reported from Supercars. It's like this stark contrast at the moment.
When you call everyone involved to get together and sort this shit out, I think it pretty much says that this needs to be rectified, and it needs to be rectified now. This is a 2.5 year ongoing problem. And yes, we ask how we got here. You'd have to say that Supercars as a whole probably underestimated the difficulty of achieving parity with similar parts and aero and so forth. We obviously went to the wind tunnel as discussed, but the problem with the wind tunnel testing that they did, Damien, I think this is, why possibly the procedure hasn't worked as effectively, is the fact that they taped up every panel gap in the wind tunnel to get true measurements, but it's not true measurement, because what happens when a car is hammering down Conrod at 300 kilometers an hour? Any panel gap, any slight movement, if that's going to affect everything, how much it drags, how it's just everything. And while I can see that's maybe the right thing for like an F1 team to be doing in their own wind tunnel, because they're things they can control at the track side, we can't, right? So I think when they go back this year, and especially with the Super, and this is possibly why they've got all the cars going, is to really see how those shapes actually are affected by turbulent air going across it, and how much gap is accruing and dropping down.
Yeah, because I mean, our panel fitment, because they're even composite panels, like the doors have flex in them, the bonnets have flex in them, so yeah, you're not getting that like for like comparison. So that was always going to be something that we didn't know about that did drop and suddenly became, like, oh, okay. So they actually tested them in a different way. It's yeah.
I did note it
Uh,
at the time. I didn't say anything because maybe I'm not smart enough, but I remember looking at some of the photos from the testing that they were doing over there and going, oh, that's interesting that they've taped up all the gaps. But then in my head, I was like, well, they know better than me, so you just go and do that. But right now, it does sort of feel like it's falsified the information a little bit. And it's not false information. It's not how it's working in the real world. So now they have
yeah.
to trial different things to try and get it right. And I suppose the worry, I mean, even as Ford fans, you'd have to say the worry is that any changes that are made now, if suddenly the Fords do have a leg up, there'll be the amount of crying, Damien.
I know,
will
but
be huge.
it's a pretty big potential because the rush is there to fix it. So they have to, I guess, with that declaration that, hey, we've got to get it right, we've got to we're going to fix it for Bathurst. That means they have to make some change. Now they make a change, they don't go far enough. It was rushed. You didn't do the right thing. Spectacle doesn't happen, and it's a Camaro whitewash. Go too far, Mustang whitewash. Everybody else on the other side of the camp is going to be crying about it. And so they're really they've left it so late. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, they definitely have to, they've got to do something, but I don't know if they're going to make the right decision. I just don't know if they can, is probably the best way to put it. They can they make the right decision? Can they
Yeah.
get lucky to get it right on that?
I don't even think it's about making the right decision. I think it's just about making a decision in general. This is
Mm,
what we're doing. Let's get it done. These are the results that we've got. This is what we think is the right way forward right now.
yeah.
And we'll visit in the wind tunnel at the end of the year. Make the change, back it in. If it isn't right, put your hand up, say, sure, we trialed it. It worked. It didn't work. It was too effective. It wasn't effective enough, whatever that happens to be. But hey, if you get it relatively right and you get a hell of a race out of it, even if a Camaro wins, but it's still at least a battle, I think that would be pretty good. I mean, there's also there's an argument out there when you look at the championship that it's really Red Bull versus the Fords, and
Yeah.
I can see that argument. I can, and that doesn't mean that it's right either. But I do think there's also a little bit of element which we've said over the years is that other than Triple Eight, there aren't really, now that Erebus has dropped back, aren't really any really strong Camaro teams.
Yeah.
They're sort of, B grade. I suppose that's a bit harsh, but like they're not at the level of Triple Eight. So and neither are the
Yeah.
Ford teams. I mean, ultimately, there's things that they've got to do too. So
Well, the homologation team is not where they should be, but the other
no,
four teams are doing a better
about
job at the moment.
yeah,
And it's kind of interesting, like, because if you think about, um, that domination, and I've actually got something from the Lucky Dogs podcast to play where
no,
Brody kind of has this little couple of stabs, right? But
yeah, okay,
I guess in the first one, they're talking about, it's one Red Bull car, and it sort of has that shades of element of, when the shoe was on the other foot for us, people were like, and they say in this clip about the Super Mustang,
yeah,
it was only of a Scotty. Scotty was the one that was destroying everybody, and
yeah,
Fabian was kind of, good, but wasn't second every time. And so it's almost the same situation, except that when you look at back then, what were the other Ford teams doing?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. I mean, like you go back to the ZB coming in versus the FGX, right? Scott McLaughlin had no right winning that championship in the FGX. The boys in the red should have slaughtered him, really. So it's it's a good point, right? There are people just doing a good job, and I think Brock Feeney is probably one of them. And I think Brock Feeney is probably one of them. And it's, I know, like it's hard, right? But clearly, like when you've got Brody saying, mate, there is a distinct difference. Anyway, I think play the clip and nope.
But yeah, this kind of just talks about where they're talking about the pole stats versus Scotty McLaughlin and the Super Chev kind of comments.
Difference for you this year versus like last year? Because obviously this year you're 12 race wins in it now, which is a pretty big accomplishment, especially in this era as well, being 12.
Well, didn't Scotty Mack in his when everyone and Scotty Mack was like, you'd just be like, wow, like how many races win? Didn't he win 17? That was his most.
Like
so you're nearly. Really, you could get that this year quite easy.
I think Scotty's pole, the record is 16 in a year.
What are you at?
I'm at 13. But it was Scafey told me yesterday, I think it was like 16 of like 26. I was like, it was pretty big.
There's two parallels I'm drawing here.
What's that?
2019 is when the Mustang come out, the Superstang. And then you got the Super GM this year.
Super GM. I knew that.
Yeah, we took it to the wind tunnel at the end of last year.
It's just only one car is a Super GM. It's just like him out qualifying us all by 5 tenths.
Hey, I wasn't a GM last year. Calm down.
Oh, yeah.
So also
the last... Were you in last year? Did you even draw? Oh, yeah, you were. You sat out. Sorry, I forgot.
The last...
I like the cheeky dig at the end there.
Yeah. And there is like another one where they're talking about the GT3 stuff, which I'll jump to in a moment. But I just felt like it was interesting that you've got this podcast. In this case, it's Will Brown and Brody Kostecki's Lucky Dogs podcast. And they had, obviously, Brock Feeney on. But just even that dynamic about, Will was talking about, it's only one of them, like straight away, it was kind of a bit defensive. And it's like, yeah, I know, but like you guys are, especially that Brock car is so far up the road that, I'm just surprised there hasn't been, the parity discussion hasn't been a stronger, broader thing that's happening. But it just shows you that, when the commentary, when the news articles from Supercars Direct are all squashing it, we're kind of in this spot of, we just have to get the dribs and drabs from drivers on podcasts, from the news pods and articles and things like that. It's coming from everywhere else. So,
yeah, but that's good too. I mean, it gives us, them, a voice to have those discussions. I think, AVL this week sort of said, that it's exactly what's missing in the broadcast in that candid style discussion of what's going on and what can be improved. And, because nothing's perfect. And we've said that many a time and last week. So, so I think they're right. In terms of Brody, he is... I think he is right, fundamentally. If he is saying there's a stark contrast between the two, then I think you have to pay attention to it. I mean, earlier in the year, Anton said the biggest difference between the Mustang and the Chev was the engine. That was the biggest thing he noticed when he went across. So, but I don't know how to get these two to this. I mean, what do they do? What do they do to try and fix it? I don't know. Other than forcing Chev to run that quad cam that they have, I always forget its last name. It's like an LS6 or LSX or whatever the hell they call it. So that's an option, especially with the Toyota coming in. and that being a quad cam as well.
Yeah, it's like the last, it's the dinosaur engine, and it is out of step with everything else. And I guess that it also highlights this little conundrum, which is sort of part of the lead into this next clip that we'll play, where we've kind of got the 4 teams now being dragged together. So Brody has gone into, and worked with Cam and Tickford to say, come on, this is what we need. So they're trying to bring everyone together. Well, excuse me. But then you've got this kind of +1 on the card of this discussion where Triple Eight are kind of in this situation of like, we're committed to Ford, so they're sort of not this roadblock that they previously were. Like the best lawyer in the pit lane is Dutto, is Mark Dutton, and it just like he would stop a lot of this. He would provide some data, put the spin on it to stop some of these changes and these discussions from advancing further. But now that they're in the Ford camp, it just shows that perhaps this might happen, at least in time for Bathurst, because we don't have the roadblock there. But I'll play this one. It's really about the GT3 opportunity with them coming to Ford of doing everything. And then there's just this little swipe from Brody just to keep, making sure he's keeping those 2 Red Bull boys honest.
Our team.
It'll be cool. Just throwing it out there, might not actually sound, but it'd really be cool if Ford got us to run 2 GT3 cars and put a bunch of their supercar drivers in them.
Yeah.
Like that would be pretty an awesome...
That would actually be
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like if it was like, I don't even know, like obviously Matt Payne's done a good job, Cam's done a good job, Chaz done a good job. Like if they just picked all their top 6 Ford drivers.
Massive following.
Yeah, imagine that.
Massive.
And they're like, okay, well, Triple Eight are our homologation team. They're running the GT3 program. Get the funding for it.
What happens if we get smoked?
Yeah, that's true. But we'd detune theirs.
Yeah.
We'd want to be in our car. But I reckon that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I reckon that'd be pretty cool. Oh, we may have to work that one out.
Yeah.
I'd just like to be in equal machinery for at least one round.
That's good. Oh, yeah. Typical. But no, that'll be interesting. But I think it will be.
There you go. I'd like to be
100%.
equal machinery.
100%.
Yeah.
Look, we've said it before. So what's the fix, right? So we know that they're doing some aero testing. We know that they're doing engine testing. Do we think both are going to get through, or do we think that just one will probably get the tick of approval come Bathurst?
I think it's going to be hard to get the aero stuff done without being able to provide some real positive data to show where there's a difference. And I kind of got the feeling, if it was my gut feel, is that maybe that they can't do exactly what they want or think they have to do to the engine. So they're going to do the aero to kind of, give, rather than giving the 20% that they need on the engine, they're doing 10% aero, 10% on the engine type thing. So that's where I think it's going to land. That's sort of where I feel it sits at the moment.
Be interesting, because you remember the last changes that they made in season was the rear wing being pushed back, which apparently was tested at Queensland again. And they had those not canards, but the blockers in that front section put in. So I wonder if that's what they were testing again. And I wonder if perhaps maybe the rear wing won't move, but maybe the blockers go in at the front just to help the car be a little slipperier in a straight line. And then whatever engine changes they need to make or have made for the crank part or whatever might help. It's really interesting that, I know you talk about Triple Eight. Now, they're not the ones actually handling it. So it's still the DJR, even though DJR have handed over the HT, they're still doing the engine diagnostics and fixes right at this given point. There's such a mess that this all is. But you're right about the fact that Triple Eight aren't going to put up a big fight on it realistically, because whatever they fight now hinders them later. So it's hard. I mean, hey, I'm all for it. Let them run whatever they want, and we can go win Bathurst. I'm good. I'm good for that.
Well, I mean that's basically what it might where it might end up, and I think Paul Morris, didn't he have some solution ready to go for this?
Oh, mate, hang on, bring Morris's quote up. So I'll read it out. I see V8 Supercars are still conducting tests on engine parity. It's in the headlines again. Clearly, there's something going on there, says Morris. I've come up with an idea because I'm the brains, and a simple idea to evaluate this. Just do an engine swap, he says. Put a Ford engine in a Camaro and put the GM engine in a Mustang. Wouldn't be that hard to do. So, go to the track, run it round, see the difference. That's what Larry Perkins would have done to fix it.
Yeah, wow.
I love that. I love the reference to Larry because we can all go back to Larry in 1995 when I was a young chap, and every auto action mag that would come out, where the Fords would have a leg up, there would be a Larry quote somewhere about them having to be pulled back, and then how they should get the 200 mil chopped. Like Larry was the king of politics in those mid 90s, and then soon followed by was it Crennan at the time at Holden in that late 90s? And he was a pain in our ass. So they've always done the political battle well, which has always been the problem for Ford. And they might not have that much of a problem this time. So it would be interesting. But as for Paul's idea, sod off, Paul.
I mean, he's had some good ones over the years. I'm not sure that's one of them, but he has had some good ideas, and sometimes I think he's just a little funny. I think just to throw it in there because he's just having his little stab to get his name in the news. I think
he's still injured from when he put Mostert's car in the wall in 2014.
Still won though. Even though
still won, no thanks to him.
Started last, put it in the wall. Chaz still delivered it, and actually in that Lucky Dogs podcast, they referred to when Chaz used to say "Fat Chaz" was the fast Chaz.
Fast Chaz.
That's apparently what he says. So it's just like, well, there you go. Right.
Fair cool.
Let's talk a little bit about, I guess, the next big impact that we think could be there, unless they address something, which is the safety car procedure.
This is a turning point.
Yeah, it really is. Because I guess what we're referring to is that 80k speed limit, I think it's 80k speed limited process where they trundle around for multiple laps, which opens up the opportunity for cars to come in, do double pit stops, etc., like we've seen, right? And and I guess it will be even further exacerbated at a track like Bathurst that is 6 odd kilometers, and like that at 80 Ks. And I think somewhere I've got a lap where I put the cruise control on my old FG Falcon at 60 Ks because that's what the speed limit is. And I did a lap of Bathurst at 60 Ks, and my goodness, the dipper is pretty scary at that speed. I think it did lose some pace a little bit through there. But yeah, didn't break the speed limit at all. And it was like a 10-minute lap. So it's like a long lap at 80 Ks.
Yeah, look, I mean, I suppose the issue is that they, like Waters gained an advantage, not Payne this time, but Kai Allen gained an advantage at Ipswich from these things. Like, the issue is that those guys were at the back, and then just by this safety car and doing the longer run, they suddenly get to the front. Scott Pye sort of said, and we probably should have clipped it, but he was sort of referencing that he would, go back to double waved yellows. There was nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with that. That system. And look, to a degree, yes. But what they're trying to do is preempt it so that nothing goes wrong. But this particular system doesn't work. So in my opinion, really, is that from the moment the safety car is deployed, the pit lane is closed.
Yeah.
Just close it. Get everyone down to the 80 kilometers an hour, whatever it is, make it safe, blah, blah, blah. Once it's clear enough for them to roll up to the back of the safety car, release it so they can roll to the safety car. Once behind the safety car, everyone, pit lane opens.
Yeah.
And then they can all file in. And I know that's really harsh and people, but I'm going to double stack. But okay, that's just the game we play, right? You're going to win, you're going to lose. It's not always going to be perfect. I think in the name of safety and fairness as an overall, I think that's the better way to play it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree. If you play the card that the governing body, Motorsport Australia, and etc., want to keep that safety label across what they're trying to achieve out of these changes. So if they want to maintain that, they can't really. I don't think they can go back to double yellow, even though I personally think that that's the way to do it. And then if people are speeding, or are going excessive speed, you ping them, right? That's kind of what I feel should happen. That's my, I guess my rose-colored glasses of the way it used to be. But I think they're going to be stuck on that safety label. And so therefore, the only way they can make this work, if they want to maintain that lower speed, is closing the pit lane, because it is something that actually then makes it fair for everybody. And in terms of, yes, it still penalises some people, but it doesn't give this massive leg up of potentially at Bathurst, someone who is maybe in 20th spot getting that leg up or that opportunity, especially at Bathurst. You know how those safety cars tend to happen just, 5-10 laps before the cutoff? So if you think about like how many times in recent years where we've had that late safety car where people have then had to fuel save because they can't get home, or they go and pit again and go hard. There's been those scenarios, and this new process would just destroy all those cars because, you'd be stuffed. You just have to go double pit everybody, and then everybody then falls into line anyway, and it's not gonna solve the problem anyway.
Yeah. No, that's probably fair. I just had this thought while you were talking about that. I'm like, how good would it be double file restarts?
I think they are definitely not going to be doing those. The chaos that used to happen.
Come
they were
on.
good to watch. They were good to watch.
No, I love watching NASCAR for that reason.
But I guess like the question really that we can ask is, like, do you think they're going to make a change? Do you think they're going to do something in the lead up to Bathurst?
I think they have to. I don't think they've got a choice. And the question of what they do, I don't know. But I think something has to change because the uproar if somebody was 18th or something or 16th in the last round of pit stops and it was a safety car and they've managed to eke to the front and then win it. I can imagine how much pain the entire field would be in over that. It's really hard, especially because the last two Bathursts, let's be honest, right? These cars were meant to be, you can overtake, you can follow closely, but we have not seen overtaking at all at that circuit. Other than when the Chevs were going down Conrod behind a Mustang. So
True.
drive by. But
facts.
That's the thing, right? Like, they just probably have to make a change. Whether it's right or wrong is irrelevant. They just need to make the change and try and implement something and improve it. There's always going to be something, wrong with whatever you decide to do, or an element, but it's finding the one with the biggest up with the smallest down.
Yeah. And especially when you consider the way they've structured the championship, where that enduro win does get you that qualification into the last 10. And so, there's some big implications for people who are further back that perhaps did okay at the bend. Maybe they sneak into the top 10. Maybe they're traveling, at 15th Bathurst. They do that strategy of the double stop and end up at the front. That's like really dragging someone from outside. And it's one to watch. Let's just put it there and say that it'll be interesting to see if they do make a change or want to do something with it.
Yeah, it will be. I hope they do. Yeah, Supercars, if you're listening, which I know you're not, yeah, have a crack, mate. Have a crack. Warbo, have a crack, son. All right, so moving on to I just saw this before we were going to air about half an hour beforehand. Yep. Just dropped in. And it was Team 18 and Adrian Burgess. Just a couple of quotes off Speed Cafe. Oh, hang on. I've got to actually get it open because I can't read that, Damien.
You can't read
how's this for sorting yourselves out? Hang on. Here we go.
Yeah.
Quote 1. Yeah. Here we go. The progression you're seeing is only from Team 18 and the work that my guys are putting in, said Burgess. We opted to be independent 2 years ago, and really this is how long it takes to develop the philosophies that you need to use and harness them with the drivers that you've got. We've expanded our engineering group this year and we've brought in a good talent, and he's developed a great relationship with Anton. And we're definitely making progress on that car, which is a bit of a drive-by to Davo, to Reynolds. To Davey.
Yeah.
Yep. But the guy that he was actually referencing in that was Andrew Donnelly, who's the engineer that's come on this year to run with Anton. And I can see that, he's probably brought some good ideas and fresh ideas and, have helped. But you can't tell me that Jeremy Moore being in that run of everything isn't having an impact. Like, come on, mate. Anyway, in the second quote from him, he said, we haven't really had any input from JJ, as in Jeremy Moore, yet, because he's working through his exit strategy from T8 and we have to respect that. Yeah, bullshit. He can't come to the tracks. He doesn't visit our factories, so we haven't really had too much interaction. Notice too much interaction, still had interaction. We haven't been given anything, or nor would we ask for anything that the blokes down the road are doing. Now, I don't think necessarily he is actually like hands-on helping, but I would say undoubtedly due to Chev's involvement, he would be giving something away to help them get up the front.
Yes, agree. It is just not impossible that hasn't happened in some capacity. Maybe Burgess is a little frustrated that perhaps Andrew Donnelly's not getting the recognition that he feels like he should. Maybe that's part of the quote. But as you say, words do really tell all in that sense, where it's like, Jeremy's not doing anything. He's working through his exit clause. We haven't had too much interaction. It's like, all right, so you've had some, right? And it would be, there's just no way. And I think that, him working through his exit, majority of the stuff that's happening now from his position is all that future stuff that would be with GM. Now, we don't know what Triple Eight have done, where they said, nope, you can't touch it, but they're already moving on in the Mustang stuff. So I would guarantee they don't want Jeremy involved in seeing what's in the Mustang stuff when he's going to be a GM. So I'll guarantee he's got time on his hands. Guarantee.
Yeah. Yep. And he'll just be talking to GM about all little things, little tricks, little, things that they can do. And GM will be relaying that to Team 18 and Adrian and the crew. So you don't just suddenly find pace and stay towards the front. As good as Anton is, you've found something. Whether it was given to you or not is irrelevant, but I think you'd be silly to think that they're not getting something.
Yeah, correct. Well,
this has actually probably been a bit faster, this pod, than I was expecting, Damo. We're sort of hightailed it through there. We've got some off-track topics track topics to discuss. Clearly, I'm tired. Cam Waters. Congratulations, mate. Had a baby on the way.
Well done. Baby girl on the way, apparently. So, yes, that is great news. That and a little unexpected. I didn't see that.
I didn't see it coming.
No, I mean, I'll leave the puns alone there. But, we sort of think of Cam as a really young bloke that's kind of just dedicated to doing his thing. And, yeah, the family stuff has just kicked off. So that is awesome news. Well done.
I thought he was single.
He's been with her for a long time, I think.
Yeah,
so,
yes,
yes, he has. So.
But you look at those mullets and stuff, and you swear he's single. Sorry, Cam.
Boomer.
So Team 18 also went to the US. They did that little trip across that. No other GM team
said, "Come along, and we'll take you through the stuff." And they went alone.
Yeah, they did. Oh. But did you see that 888 had their own trip with all crews and everything? Oh my god!
Yeah, there was some. I think it was the Pit Stop Channel or something that they had said to the team, "We achieved this, we get that," they took the Pit Stop team and all the mechanics and stuff over. So they had their own little individual trip. It's like, I know, clearly they're out there.
They always have more access too.
Well, I don't know, because of the Ford thing. I think they're just like, right, you're not invited anyway.
Yeah. Quite possibly. And we saw a sneak peek of a door handle, Damien. The Supra. They're teasing us with the carbon fiber roof and the door handle, and that was about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's good they're starting to do something, so that's great. But we're not exactly, we've seen the Supra. We know what it looks like in terms of the normal road going car. So it's like, how different is it going to be? Well, give us something a little more. What's
to be nice to the Supra, it's a polarizing design. You either really love it or you particularly dislike it. I won't mention which side of the camp I sit on, even though it's well documented.
It's the opposite one to me, and I like it.
Do we think it's actually going to be a good-looking car on track?
Yeah,
you reckon?
Yeah. I mean, if you see like the cars, that are out there that have had, they've got kind of like the wings attached and a bit more sporty and stuff. They look good. Well, I think so. It's up to you.
So here's the thing that I'm gonna say, because which part are they stretching? Because the Supra is a very short wheelbase. So is it the nose of the car, which is already extraordinarily long, or is it the rear of the car, which could completely change the look of the car?
I probably expect that it's possibly going to be, I don't know, of course, but it would be the cabin part, I would assume, because they would need to make sure that's got the right sizing for all drivers to fit in and out of, and safety and all that. So, we could end up with a, first-gen Mustang bastardized little thing, but I'm hoping not.
Look, I don't think it's going to be Mustang 2.0 of the Gen 2, but I am intrigued, and I know they're heavily focusing apparently on that FT01 concept, which looked dramatically different and better than what the Supra actually came out to be. So, it'll be interesting to see. But the other thing about the Supra, which I found absolutely highly entertaining and laughable, was the fact that they announced at the same time that the car's no longer for sale.
I think day before or something. I think is.
It's
well, it was better than the Camaro that was officially not on sale when it launched. So like
it was on sale if you wanted to import it.
on the imports list.
No, it'll be interesting. I am actually looking forward to seeing what that car looks like on the track, and see what they do with it, and then again seeing what the finished touches from the wind tunnel make it look like as well, because I'm sure there'll be some changes along the way. Well, I think that about wraps us up, doesn't it, for this one?
It does. It does. Thanks, everybody, for joining us and listening. We appreciate it. And the usuals on the socials will be there.
What's the word today, Damo?
The word today is... Oh, no, it's going to be 2 words. Supra.
Come on. Supra? All right. Supra, put it in the comments below if you made it this far. If you aren't following us on the social medias, you can. It's at the Valve Bounce. Completely up to you. And we'd love to see you.
It's not. You got to do it.
You got to do it. Yeah. Just do it. No. Do it.
Enjoy. And we will catch you on the next one.
We will.
All right.
F1 time. See ya.
Bye.